Hi, I'm the old principal, and you are just tuned in to the Old Principal English Instructional Program. This is lesson number 120, and you will find it very interesting. Now, before we get too far into it, we need somebody to read the story to us. And so I brought my wife, as I always do, here, and she will read the story. She has a much better sounding voice than I do. Okay, go for it.
Many years ago, a senior executive of the then Standard Oil Company made a wrong decision that cost the company more than $2 million. John D. Rockefeller managed the business. On the day the news leaked out, most of the officers of the company were finding ways to avoid Mr. Rockefeller, lest his anger be directed at them. But Edward Bedford, a partner in the company, kept his appointment to see Rockefeller that day. He was prepared to listen to a long tirade against the man who made the terrible mistake. He entered the office of the powerful manager of the huge Standard Oil empire. He was bent over his desk, busily writing with a pencil on a pad of paper. Bedford stood silently, not wishing to interrupt. After a few minutes, Rockefeller looked up. "Oh, it's you, Bedford," he said calmly. "Please sit down. I suppose you've heard about our loss." "Yes," said Bedford. I've been thinking it over," Rockefeller said, "and before I asked the man in to discuss the matter, I've been making some notes." Bedford later told the story. Across the top of the page, he had written, "Points in favor of Mr. Jones." Under that was a long list of the man's virtues, with a brief description of how he had helped the company make the right decision 3 different times that earned the company many times the cost of his recent error. I never forgot that lesson. So whenever I'm tempted to angrily scold someone, I force myself first to thoughtfully compile as long a list of good points as I can. Most often, by the time I'm finished, I see the matter in its true perspective and keep my temper under control. There is no telling how many times this habit has prevented me from committing one of the most costly mistakes any executive can make: losing his temper.
You don't want to lose your temper.
No?
So, what do? Write a list. Did you ever write a list about all of my good things?
I think I did once.
We usually don't think about. Maybe that's not a bad idea. When you get irritated at something that I've done, like throwing my socks down and not picking my socks up,
Yes.
then you have to sit down and say, well, my husband is very good at this, very good at this and this. Yeah, maybe the socks are not so bad after all.
They are minor issues.
Minor issues. That's right. Minor issues. Okay, so now, except this wasn't exact. $2 million was not quite a minor issue.
That's right.
But it's an interesting story, so hang tight, because here we go. Okay, John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller. Very, 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 very rich man. Okay? And he was talking about losing his temper. I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to see if I can do this. Many years ago, a senior executive of the then Standard Oil Company. 那时候是 Standard Oil Company 是一个石油公司 Standard Oil 这个石油公司 and maybe the name is a little bit different now. Okay, a senior executive. Okay, what is a senior executive? 行政人员 Okay, 一级的或高级的 senior executive, right at the very top tier of the administration of the Standard Oil Company. He made a wrong decision, 做了一个不好的决定 Okay, he made a wrong decision, and it cost the company 使那个公司损失多少钱 It says right here, the company cost the company more than $2 million. Okay, so to cost the company, when you write it like this, it means 使那个公司损失 in this case, 2 million, okay, 200万块钱. This, of course, is 美金. Going on, John D. Rockefeller, we saw his picture just a few minutes ago, managed the business, 经营这个公司的这个营业 okay, 经营 so he's the one who managed the business. He was the, we say, big boss. Going on the day the news leaked out. Now, sometimes you have a secret or something you don't want to say, but it leaks out, 好像落水一样落出来. Oh, in fact, we even say it in Chinese. 这个消息就落出来. Okay, so the same idea. On the day the news leaked out, most of the officers, okay, these are the 一级的或高级的行政人员, most of the officers of the company, 公司的这些行政人 were finding ways. They were finding ways. 就是他们是创造方法 what? To avoid 避免 Mr. Rockefeller. Now, why would they want to 避免 Mr. Rockefeller? Why would they want to avoid Mr. Rockefeller? 免得 his anger, so maybe he did get angry sometimes, okay? 免得他的脾气 shall be directed at them, 就向着他们发脾气 okay? Directed at them. Going on. But Edward Bedford, okay, who's Edward Bedford, a partner, 他跟 Mr. Rockefeller 是一个伙伴 okay, partner in the company, so he has invested money in the company, okay, kept his appointments, 按照他所定的时间 okay, his appointment to see Rockefeller that day. See, everybody else, you see, you got the picture? Everybody is scared to death. They don't want to see Mr. Rockefeller. But in this case, Mr. Bedford said, well, I'm going to go see him anyway. They had an appointment, and so he said, I'm going to go when my appointed time is. Going on, he was prepared to listen to a long tirade. I don't know how to say tirade in Chinese, but I can tell you what a tirade is when a person starts to 发脾气 okay, or 发怨言, and they go on and on and on and on. It's usually 非常非常负面的，非常负面的。This is a tirade, something that's not nice to listen to. He was pretty 已经准备好听 Mr. Rockefeller 这个 listen a long tirade against 向着那做错的这个可怕的错误的那位。So he expected Rockefeller to say something very negative, very long, but he was surprised. He was surprised. Okay, going on. He entered the office of the powerful manager. 经理 is a manager. Okay, powerful 是非常非常有权力的，很有力量的。He was very rich, and usually when you're rich, you have power. Okay, and so he entered the powerful manager of the huge Standard Oil empire. Now, Standard Oil Company, empire. Empire means that it's very big and it spreads out over a very large region. 好像王国一样. Okay, an empire. Going on. He was bent over his desk. Okay, and I imagine this is my imagination. He took the door, and he just kind of opened the door, and he's kind of just like this, you know. He's not a real. He doesn't want to. Well, hi, good morning. Huh? This is not a day for that kind of an attitude. So Mr. Rockefeller was bent over his desk. Bent over, that means that he is 弯腰的写. Okay? Busily writing with a pencil. So he's writing with 用铅笔写 on a pad of paper. 一叠纸头. A pad. 一叠纸头, pad of paper. Going on. Bedford stood silently. Very silently. Didn't say a word. 他不想, in this case, 不想, not wishing to 打扰他. Okay? To interrupt, to 打扰他. After a few minutes, 过了几分钟, so I can imagine, here he is, he's just standing there. Nothing. Finally, Rockefeller looks up. He looked up. 他就抬头就看. Going on. Oh, it's you, Bedford. So he said calmly, 蛮平静的说的. He doesn't sound angry. He's 好像不是发脾气的态度啊. Please sit down. Please sit down. 请坐. And then he says, I suppose you've heard about our loss. I suppose. 或许. 可能, 肯定. 你听过我们的损失? Okay, how would, when he says, I suppose, in this case, it is, 我认为你已经, the idea is 肯定, for sure, you have heard. Even though we say suppose, and suppose doesn't usually have that meaning, but I'm sure that you have heard. Going on. Yes, said Bedford. Going on. I've been thinking it over. This is Rockefeller. Okay? I've been thinking it over. Rockefeller said, and before I ask the man to discuss the matter, 我还没有叫那个人做错误的那个人来，这个跟他讨论这件事情的时候 I've been making some notes. 我正在写一些笔记。So what is he writing? Going on. Bedford later told the story. So now Bedford is actually telling his part of the story. Here's what Bedford said. Going on. Across the top of the page, so you have a piece of paper, and across the top of the page, he had written these words, points in favor of Mr. Jones. If that was his name, I don't know whether it's his name, but anyway, Mr. Jones 的优点, okay? Points in favor of, 优点, okay? So he's writing this at the top of the page. Going on. Under that was a long list of the man's virtues. Okay? What is a virtue? 他的德行, 他的德行. The good things that he's done. So he's writing down. I can imagine. Here, like I got a pencil here. So here we go. And here's Mr. Rockefeller. And he said, points in favor of Mr. Jones. He writes that at the top. And then he's written down all the good things that the guy has done. His virtues. Okay? Okay? And then it says that under that was a long list of the man's virtues with a brief description of how he had helped the company. Okay? 他这个短短的描述 what? Describe. To describe is 描述 of 他是怎么样帮助公司. So it's all written right there. Okay? Going on. Okay. So here's what he wrote. Here's what he wrote. He made the right decision. 做很好的决定。3个不同的时间做了好的决定。OK， 使公司赚很多钱，比我们的损失多了好几倍。Okay, so this is what he's writing down. Even though Mr. Jones made a mistake, 3 times he made good decisions that earned the company 使公司赚钱赚的比那个损失多了好几倍。Okay, many times the cost of his reason 他最近的错误。Okay, so now this is what is being written down. Okay, going on. And then Bedford said himself, this is what Bedford said. He said, I never forgot that lesson. 我从来没有忘记这个教训。Go ahead. So whenever I'm tempted to angrily scold, 发脾气骂人家 okay, 发脾气骂人家或责备人家 When I am tempted, 有试探 I'm tempted, 有试探 发脾气骂人家。I force myself. 他说我强迫自己what? Compile. That means to make several things. To compile 收集 compile a long list of good points, as long a list as possible. Okay? That means 尽可能所有的它的优点，它的好处，我都写下来。Good idea. Going on. Most often, by the time I am finished, I see the matter in its true perspective and keep my temper under control. Most often, 大部分的时候，直到我已经写完他的优点。So when I'm finished writing all of his pluses, his 优点, his points in favor of, the good things about this person, I see the matter, 我就看这件事情 in its true professor, 在真正的这个we say perspective, 这个角度，这个的真相 true perspective. Okay, I see the truth, 这个真相 and I keep my temper under control. And so he says, I keep my temper, 我就控制我的脾气 Under control means 我控制我的脾气 To keep your temper under control. Actually, you can use under control several different. I keep my appetite under control. Anything you can keep under control. But in this case, we often say we keep our temper under control. 控制我的脾气 Going on. There is no telling how many times this habit has prevented. Okay, 没办法 or say 说不出来有多少次 There is no telling how many times this habit, 这个习惯 has prevented me, 阻止我 prevent excuse me please, 阻止我怎么样犯错 Okay, 阻止我犯 one of the most costly mistakes any executive can make. 犯一个行政人员能够做最 costly 最大的错误 So this habit 阻止我犯这个错误 What is it? Going on, losing his temper. 就发脾气 Okay, Mrs. Ash, you're back.
Yes.
Okay, so what should we say? When you read a story like this, do you think of any time in your life where you've actually sat down, and you actually wrote out the good things that the person has done to help you not be so angry? Are you ever angry?
Yes, sometimes.
Really?
Not often, but some.
Well, it doesn't happen very often. Not with you. You're too nice. 他是好人. I'm not. Okay? But so when you write down things about all the good things, what does it make you, what kind of attitude does it bring to you?
Well, I think it brings a balance because it's very easy to see negative things sometimes, for me anyway.
Okay, so what you're saying is that when you write down the good things, then it brings a balance. And 会保持平衡啊. Okay, and so sure, they have bad habits,
Yes.
but then they also have good habits. Or they do good things and maybe they do some bad things. So when we're talking about this, it's good to think about the good things that people do.
Yes.
Because we live in a negative world. 我们的世界是非常非常负面的. And it's hard to find good things to talk about. But sometimes it's just good to write down a few good things. It makes us happier. And it helps us avoid, 阻止我们 make the big mistake of losing our temper.
Yes.
发脾气.
Yeah.
Okay, we're running out of time. We do have an email address, theoldprinciple@gmail.com. gmail.com. And then we have a website, www.theoldprinciple.org. So, if you feel like losing your temper today, sit down and write a list. And then you'll feel a little bit happier. Until next time, we'll see you.
Bye.